In light of the recent pivot to talking about forms of mass transit beyond trains, I drafted a script for what I thought was my first bus rapid transit proposal in the Los Angeles area. As I got close to finishing my draft, I started to realize that what I proposed was more akin to a different type of bus that used to be more prominent in LA, something called Metro Rapid. But why is it not as prominent as it once was? Also, should it be more prominent? And if so, where? So, history lesson time. There is a lawsuit in the mid 90s arguing that the MTA in Los Angeles was unlawfully discriminating against inner city and transit dependent bus riders. The case was ultimately settled out of court, and the settlement included a plan to improve bus service in LA. Part of that plan was the formation of the first Metro Rapid lines. These Metro Rapid lines were supposed to have many of the features of bus rapid transit, which I'll call BRT for the rest of this video. Some notable features of Metro Rapid include off-board fare payment to shorten time spent at stops, bus stops about every half mile or so, and transit signal priority so that buses don't have to wait as long at traffic lights. I've seen the term BRT Lite used to describe Metro Rapid, and I think that's a fair term to use, because there are also some features of BRT absent from Metro Rapid, most notably dedicated bus lanes. But still, despite being so called BRT Lite, it was a successful service to start. The first Metro Rapid lines were heavily used and very popular. So, what went wrong? What went wrong was that some of the later Metro Rapid routes were, quite frankly, not as good as some of the earlier routes. By all accounts, the earlier routes were a big success, and that resulted in a lot of clamoring for other Metro Rapid routes. And in the clamoring for other Metro Rapid routes, it sounds like some of the other routes were not implemented thoughtfully. Here were a few issues with a number of these routes. First, some of the subsequent Metro Rapid routes didn't have the features that some of the earlier routes had. I've also read that some of the Metro Rapid routes had poor frequencies, which kind of defeats the purpose of BRT or BRT adjacent travel. If you have to wait half an hour for a Metro Rapid bus, but only 10 minutes for a local bus, you're going to take the local bus. Additionally, there are some Metro Rapid lines just too short to make a significant time difference from the local route counterpart, especially if the local route comes first before the Metro Rapid route. I'm sure that there are other issues with Metro Rapid, but that feels like plenty. And, given all of these issues with some of the Metro Rapid routes, it's no big surprise that a number of them had low ridership. The combination of ridership issues and LA Metro's early 2010s budget crisis led to a number of the Metro Rapid routes being cut. Most of the lines that weren't cut in the early 2010s were cut in the early 2020s because of LA Metro's bus network redesign. Instead of having Metro Rapid on many of these streets, emphasis was instead placed on having more frequent local bus service. Because of this change in emphasis, all but 3 Metro Rapid routes were eliminated. The remaining ones are the 720, which goes from Santa Monica or Westwood to downtown LA by way of Wilshire Boulevard. The 754, which goes from East Hollywood to Vermont Avenue and 120th Street by way of Vermont Avenue. And the 761, which goes from the Silmar San Fernando Metrolink station to the Expo Sepulveda LA Metro Rail station by way of Van Nuys Boulevard and Sepulveda Boulevard. You might have noticed a common theme between these 3 remaining Metro Rapid lines. But if not, I'll tell you the theme. They are all routes that are either candidates for, or are going to be used for, rail transit. The 720 runs along Wilshire Boulevard. which will see a D line extension to westward in the next few years. The 754 runs along Vermont Avenue, which will have a long term rail study. As for the 761, it runs along what will become the East San Fernando Valley Light Rail line in the northern portion of the route, and potentially the Sepulveda line on the rest of the route. Because of the potential, likely, or imminent plans along large portions of all three of the remaining Metro Rapid corridors, I have this feeling that there will come a day when Metro Rapid will be no more. But should it be that way? I'll give my opinion on this shortly, but I'll want your opinion as well. Please let me know in the comment section below whether you think LA should have a bit of a Metro Rapid comeback. Make sure also to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content on imagining better mass transit in the United States. As for my opinion on whether Metro Rapid should disappear, I'm going to say no, but with some caveats. The first caveat is that I don't think that LA Metro's bus system needs 26 Metro Rapid lines, which was how many existed at the peak of this service. But I do think that there are several major corridors that could use a Metro Rapid alternative to regular Metro buses, which can struggle with the perception of being slow. The second caveat is that these Metro Rapid lines need to have features that make the bus speeds, well, rapid. A Metro Rapid that includes off-board fare payment. Bus lanes strategically placed where the buses tend to be the slowest. Platform level boarding so that people with walkers and wheelchairs can get on more easily. And greater stop spacing. One of the downfalls of Metro Rapid was that it didn't have many of the features that made the buses rapid to begin with. So I think this is important. The third caveat is that the implementation of Metro Rapid on certain corridors will need to be balanced with whatever demand there is for the local routes. As the stop spacing is supposed to be one stop every half mile or so, there are some people who won't want to walk, or aren't able to walk, to the nearest Metro Rapid stop. And it's important to maintain healthy levels of bus service for those who use local buses rather than Metro Rapid. The fourth and final caveat is that full-blown BRT should be used where possible, as opposed to Metro Rapid. However, there are some corridors where there isn't the room for the dedicated, route-long busways that come with BRT. And in those cases, Metro Rapid is what LA should go with. Even without the bus lanes, or with bus lanes that are strategically placed where bus routes tend to be the slowest, I think that a Metro Rapid service focused on delivering a faster option to local buses on select corridors can still be successful. And I will have videos where I talk about corridors that I think are worthy of Metro Rapid service. Thank you, and have a good day.